Okay, good morning. Sorry. I tried to sign in from my car and it was not working. Okay. Hello. Who've we got? Hi, Dolls. Hi, Samantha. Morning, Debbie. Morning, Karen. Morning, Simone. Nice to have you with us. Morning, Sarah. Okay, whoever is there. And now I just need my, okay. Where is it? Where did I leave it? Okay. So first thing is, thanks, Debbie. Let me just tell this young. I've already started my share. I'm going to call you back as soon as I'm finished. Okay. I finished about 11:05-ish. Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Lovely. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, bye. Okay, sorry, that's what happens dating, you know, that everybody's... So Simone, Geshe did brilliantly. Gibraltar schools managed theirs. And honestly and truly, Hashem is just awesome at how he manages to just stretch it out there, okay? Stretch it out. So we want to be davening for all of Klal Yisrael, for all the Cholim everywhere. And David Ben Sarah is having a pacemaker put in today. That's Tuesday. That is rebbetzen Gottlieb has asked for everybody please to daven for him today. And Be'ezras Hashem, we should only have good things. Okay, let's go. So we are in the second week of our 3 weeks. As I've said before, our daughter's Y science teacher should not be given. Okay, great. That's funny. Okay, that's just my children just saying that. Please, can I add Reuven Avram Ben Mazal also having surgery today? Yes, Reuven Avram Ben Mazal should have a refuah shalema. Be'ezras Hashem. What it's a good simon and a good day to have these. May Hashem just literally listen to every one of our tefillahs. We are getting more desperate. Well, I am more desperate by the day, just to be able to have calm, like inner calm and calm. And that is something which is just seems to be, you know, but Hashem is doing things which he's really big in Klal Yisrael to come together. You know, I got a message this morning from a friend of mine after I sent out a reminder for everybody to put in their acts of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha avas chinam, and that is something which is so important for each and every one of us. And the tragedies that are continuing that we don't even know about. In Vancouver, a young man in his 20s was going to visit his parents and he's disappeared 30 days. They can't find him. It's just not normal. There are things that are happening all over the world, you know, and then we see Dalia in her kitchen preparing food for everybody, and we're all doing our own things. I mean, if there weren't, you know, folding our laundry and washing the dishes and preparing the food and all the things that we do are vital to the continuation of what we're doing in the world that we are living in. And we have to really recognize that. When we start our thoughts and you think about, you know, with the tragedies in Miami, you know, every single thing, but Klal Yisrael, you know, one of my friends resent me the video clip of the Mexican team that came to help. And it was Friday night. And there he is taking a bottle of kiddush, of grape juice, and making kiddush in the middle of the search. And he's got, you know, things that are definitely in a normal time muktzah. But to be able to go and search, whatever we do, whatever we find, we still have to be searching. And that is it. That's what we spend our lives doing. I actually went off this morning and I was late, and that's why I was late to getting back to hook on here. But why? Because a beautiful group of girls for their bat mitzvah year are starting learning all beautiful mitzvahs today. And the Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'hakonim v'ro. And I was thinking, you know, I'm helping somebody. So I landed up, I was like, oh my gosh, look at the time. I looked at my watch. I thought, Hashem, thank you. Thank you for putting that into my head. I was like so engrossed in this thing. And I was like, oh my gosh. I quickly messaged us and I'm coming. I'm on my way. Okay. And I got to the school, and then I try and sign into to log into the Zoom when I get into the card 1 minute to 10. And I'm just like laughing. I'm thinking, Hashem, you're really having fun with me today, right? All the different things that are distractions and things. But the most important thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to do it for your children. That's it. We want to bring us all together. And, you know, it's a bit of a challenge, like even all these different things, you know, we look at and we see every charity and everything that happens and all the different places that and everybody looks and you sigh. And don't sigh, just say, please, Hashem, make sure that their basket gets filled the way you want it to be. Because at the end of the day, everybody's looking after your children. The schools are looking after your children. Gesher's looking after your children. Gibraltar's looking after your children. Seed are looking after your children. This one's looking. Everybody, that's what we do. Look at every single charity. Look at Noah Girls. Look at the Clubhouse. What are we doing? It's just about your children. So how can you make anything different? How can you make it not work, right? And along the way, yes, do I care if somebody else makes a lot of money from it? No, because in turn, they're going to be looking after your children and they're helping us. And when we look at the world that we're living in, we've got to be able to look and say, okay, this is the 3 weeks. We do have to be able to say, what are we doing and how are we doing it? I might have to just tell somebody who's come to just go and get his own milk, because we've got a few different people staying here. I hope that that is actually him. And you see, I don't even know where I put that. Sorry, my headspace. I hid it. Let's see. Maybe when Shannon comes back, I'm sure he'll be gone. Just give him money and ask him to put the straight down there. So will you do that though? Oh, okay. Okay. There we go. That's the art of Achnas's Orchim. Get your visitors to go and buy the milk. Okay. Oh dear. Oh, did you give him money? Okay. I can't do that now. No, I can't. Okay. So where are we? So now in the 3 weeks we're coming up to, there's a brilliant little, for anybody Sephardi, okay, and I'm going to have to put it up as for anybody Sephardi, for anybody Sephardi, the laws of what we can and can't do during this time period, and then going into the 9 days. We are once again going to have Shabbos Mevorchim this week, and that is just actually quite incredible, because I don't know where the time goes and how it goes, but it goes. And then in the 9 days, so as, good morning, Laura. Don't worry, you're not very late. I started very late.
Joe, you muted yourself. Joe, you've muted yourself.
Thanks. How did I do that? My book.
Magic.
Okay, so what we're going to be able to look at is see now is within the 9 days how much more stringent the actual halachas become. And we'll do a little bit of that, and then we'll get on to some thought process of how we can set ourselves in for the day and where we're going to be. I have to say, the Sephardim actually don't have much, too many things that they're not going to be doing. Okay, there definitely are not too many things, and what we need to do is actually be prepared. Okay, one of the things is actually just being prepared. You might have to have menu changes, but it really is the stringencies and the different things that we become and do in the 9 days is really all about a personal focus. Okay, it is all about the personal focus of the way we're supposed to be thinking and what we're supposed to be thinking. Okay, let's go. I tried to see if we could actually get the same way that the Sephardi little chart came up, which I'm going to post so everybody knows that it is the Sephardi chart, okay, of very little things that you can't do, but the things that we can do, okay, and Rabbi Birnbaum kind of said, just like, you know, just take that chart and just put an X through most of the ticks in the 9 days, okay. So let's have a look. So Rosh Chodesh, okay, Rosh Chodesh will be after Shabbos, okay, and we have here. So one of the things that's recommended for us is to postpone a lawsuit. Again, if there's anything that we're not sure of, just ask. That's what our rabbis are here for. You don't want to ask me, I'll check with the rabbi, okay. We should be from Rosh Chodesh Av until after Tisha B'Av, all forms of business should be decreased, okay? If we're going to lose money, then we do not have to do this, so we check what that means. We're not supposed to buy ourselves something which gives us simcha, okay? So anything that's actually going to give you simcha, we don't do in the 9 days. If there are things that we need, and you see something as you happen to be going to wherever you are going, and you see something that you know that you will use, need, or want, and it is on a reduced price. Everything that you look at now, well, it's not everything, but then we need to be able, we can buy it, put it away, and if you can emotionally not be excited about getting the discount, that would probably be the hardest thing to do. Yay, I got it at a half-price sale. Don't get too excited about that. Remind yourself at that moment, take an extra few pounds, put it into tzedakah, and say, thank you, Hashem, for giving me that, and Emetz Hashem, I'll be able to use it dancing in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, okay? We even suspend our certain buildings, okay? We shouldn't be building in the 3 weeks, but if we're doing it in the 3 weeks, we put it off until after the 9 days, okay? And would probably be even putting in a new light fitting, which I just thought about now because I had asked George to come and do it. He'll come do it after the 9 days, and we'll manage until after the 9 days because it might give my son too much simcha, having a light that he can actually see in his room properly, that would actually be there. So we wait. Painting and home decorating. Building for a mitzvah as a shul or a base midrash is definitely permissible. Okay, continuing to build a mikveh is definitely allowed. If a person is somebody non-Jewish who was contracted before Rosh Chodesh to build or decorate a house for a Jew, the non-Jew may work even during the 9 days. So this reminds me of a story which I'm sure I've shared with you before, but the story about the Irish painter who goes to paint the Jewish, the religious man's house, and he says to him, thank you very much for posting that, Samantha, I will pass it on. And he says, look, do me a favor, when you're painting the house, just make sure that in this area you leave a square that's this much by this much, and don't paint it, don't decorate it. And he says to him, well, you need to tell me why. He says, no, don't worry about why. I'm just telling you. So he says to him, listen, I'm not going to do that, because if I do it and then I'm finished, I'm going to tell you to pay me, you're going to say, but you didn't finish the work. So you're going to have to tell me why you had to do that. Anyway, this man reluctantly says to him, he says, look, he says, you know, where our temple was destroyed. And since the temple was destroyed, we don't complete any other buildings. So he says to him, so tell me, when was this temple destroyed? He says, about 2,000 years ago. So he says to him, can't you just let bygones be bygones? Okay. And the truth is that when you think about the attitude, that is an attitude of something which a person, when you don't understand what real loss is, when we don't understand the power of the loss, right? The power of the loss, when we don't understand that, then we'll never understand what it means to really lose something. So when you think about, and probably the hardest thing is when you've lost somebody who you really love and care about, it never, ever leaves you. Not for a day. Not for a day. It doesn't leave us. And because we are learning and understand what it means, we've never seen the Beis HaMikdash. How can we be mourning something that we've never seen? We don't know what it means. We've seen maybe pictures, you've been there, but you don't know what the feeling was. And you know, for people who lived through the time of the destruction of the second temple, who had been there in the first, they said of the second Beis HaMikdash, it was nothing compared to the first. You don't understand what you lost. But you know what? We are going to be in a time where we can see and we greet and we have the Bayis Shlishi, the final home of Hashem. And that final home of Hashem is going to be much more beautiful than both of them put together. So when there are things like preventing damage, where there's repairing a building during the 9 days and might cause additional damage, then one needs to repair that, because that is for damage. Do we plant things for pleasure? Planting for pleasure, trees to make shade or beauty, flowers or fragrance for pleasure should not be planted during the 9 days. So if you do want to do that, make sure that you're up on it. We better send that halacha over to Debbie as well. Okay, reasons. We do not eat, okay, meat as Ashkenazim during the week. Sfaradim do these things, they refrain from them during the actual week of in which Tisha B'Av falls. So if Tisha B'Av is ever on a Thursday, then you will have all these restrictions from Sunday, like us Ashkenazim will be doing, okay? So for the entire week, okay, we are not going to be eating meat and drinking wine, okay? There are going to be other reasons why we can, but again, it's going to be a thing that says we diminish our simcha, okay? We take away from the simcha. So the minhag is to the minhag, okay, so the custom is to abstain from eating meat and drinking wine during the 9 days. This includes chicken. And the reason, morning, Sharon.
Good morning, good morning.
How are you? You're looking pretty. Okay, so the reason for this custom is that one experiences simcha, okay, by eating meat. They experience simcha by eating meat and drinking wine. In addition, it is to recall the korbanos, the sacrifices of meat and wine, which were suspended because of the destruction of our temple, okay? So I remember one thing in my first year in Eretz Yisrael, the first time that I actually learned the halachas of the 9 days, it was such a crazy thing. And I remembered one of the lines of one of the teachers that they had said, that one of my teachers, Morning Rebecca, that one of the teachers had actually said that a person who eats meat and wine and drinks wine, but who eats meat, it is as if the Beis HaMikdash is not important to them. And I have to tell you, it was 40, nearly 41 years ago, but 40 years ago. Yeah, it's exactly 40 years ago. And there was a Hungarian restaurant in Jerusalem on Rehov Yafo. It was on the first floor of a building, and they made the best stuffed paprika chicken. It was absolutely yum. And one of my friends and I, who were both learning together in SEM, we decided that we're going to go out for supper. And we actually planned which pizza place we were going to. And somehow along the way, we got distracted. And I won't say who said, but said, come on, why don't we just go to, I can't even remember, I'm trying to remember the name of the restaurant. And we went and we sat down and we ordered our chicken and we finished our chicken. And I said, oh my gosh, we were going for pizza because it's a 9 days. And I said to her the line that I'd heard from one of my teachers. And I said, you know what the truth is? The truth is that it is not yet. It is not yet part of me because I've never known about it properly and I've never learned about it properly. And it was only a few months I'd been in Israel since March. And it was quite shocking, you know, because I used to get upset when I was in Habanim that they would have functions sometimes on Tisha B'Av. And as you recognize and realize that the less connected we are to understanding these things, then we're just not connected and we don't have an understanding. So we have to learn to grow in our understanding and all the halachas that help us. You know, the more we learn, the more we understand, the more we learn and grow, and we recognize all the beauty of the Beis HaMikdash, the more exciting it is. So one of the things, and I have a friend, and I don't know if I told or who I've told, but I have a friend who's doing a program at the moment for a really big program, and I'm going to tell you when you'll be able to watch it and the friend that did it. But one of the things that she has to do is that she has a meeting with the Vatican, and whether it's on Zoom or phone or whether she's going to have to get there or whatever. And I've said to her, you know what? I said, at the end of your meeting, do you think you could just ask the Pope to give you the vessels for the temple back? Anyway, with her good old English thing, because she got the English thing from me, Simone, what do you think? It was like, just at the end of the meeting, just do me a favor, could you just ask him to give you the box of all the stuff that we need for the Beis HaMikdash? And she kind of like, I could see it going through her head. And then she said, is it okay if I ask him in the first meeting? Because I really need the stuff for this program. I said, that's okay. Just make sure that you make the call quite soon after, okay? So that he remembers who you are. So the whole process of this, anyway, we had a bit of a chuckle, but I was being totally serious. I was being so serious. I'm thinking like, can you imagine being in a place where you can just go and look at these, just go and look, just go and touch. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you were one of the people that were in the Vatican and you had access to the vault, right? And you could go there and do this. And Hashem is taking every single community all over the world, and he is saying, wake up. And if you don't remember that you're Jewish, you're a Jew, and this is what you're going to have to do. Anyway, she also sent me and introduced me to, not in person, but I hope one day maybe I will get to meet him in person. Famous person, I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but I Googled this Sir, whatever his name is, who works and written stuff and whatever on real happiness and also on quiet time and leaders. And it's really fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But this man's father was Jewish. He married a Jewish woman. And I just want to get the message now to them to say, your kids are Jewish. You know, do they know that? Do they know that? And the Jewish woman that he married, her father was another famous academic, and he was also Jewish. I mean, he was very upset that she was marrying somebody that wasn't Jewish. Okay. And here I'm looking at this space, and I'm thinking, here's a man who has such power in his hand. His father was Jewish. He marries somebody whose parents were Jewish. Okay. Now, her children are actually Jewish, but they've got no clue. No clue. So how could it ever affect them if we talk to them about the Beis HaMikdash or Tisha B'Av? And this is one of the things that we ourselves need to be mourning, because that's where we are. As a Jewish nation, that's where we are. And we need to feel the pain. We need to share the pain of the entire Jewish people, but we also need to share the gifts and the positivity and the excitement. And I actually told the girls this morning, and it's a very religious school, but I told them that, you know, if they're willing to fill in the forms, they can be part of our Yes, You Can, because I want them to be accustomed to something that it's not just there. I want them to be accustomed to something that don't take this for granted. We need to remind ourselves that we can't take this all for granted. Okay, so eating meat or drinking wine is permissible on Shabbos, okay, or at a Seudas mitzvah. A Seudas mitzvah is any mitzvah where you would be having it's a positive commandment to have a meal on that day. So if somebody has a bris, they will make a Seudas mitzvah. Okay, Shabbos, we have a Seudas mitzvah. So on Shabbos, you can't taste your meat. You can't taste your chicken soup before Shabbos. Okay, we don't eat, and you're not going to be eating leftovers. Okay, but it's fine because we're going into Tisha B'Av. So we have to, for Shabbos next week, you can have meat and wine. Okay, but not on now. The other mitzvah meal that we make is a siyum, when somebody completes a masechet of any kind of, girls, I can't say that it helps for us because we do not have that positive mitzvah of learning Torah and completing it. So our books that we have completed, we can put off our siyum. And we're going to actually make, and I'm going to try and set for everybody, because Sarah, we didn't get to make our 21st of June party. So we're going to have to make at least a lovely get together, and we can decide of doing an evening in the week, probably after Tisha B'Av. I am going to ask if we can do something still next week, maybe in the daytime. We will create, and whoever can be with us and get to us, we will make a little tea party or something. During share, for our share, we'll make like a little a celebration with dairy foods for breakfast. So when somebody makes a siyum and they complete a masechet of learning, and it's in the 9 days, one is permitted to eat meat and drink wine, okay, because it is a mitzvah. The question becomes, should we specifically create a learning period where we learn something in order to complete it for that time, so we can have a meat during the 9 days? So there are many people that do it. I'm not going to paskin or say what I think, but people do it, and every person has to ask their own rav, okay, for this. When a person is making wine and using wine for Birkat Hamazon and Havdalah, okay, so we are not going to, So we will not be able to have the wine because it's after Shabbos. So wine is not used excepting for a Shabbos Seudas mitzvah. So when we may eat and drink wine even before sunset, okay, if a person is bringing Shabbos in early, which is what we do in this part of the world, okay, so we will not be making Havdalah with drinking, because it's going to be the fast this year. Okay, on Tisha B'Av, we are going to be starting our fast, so nobody's going to be drinking, but we will still make Havdalah because we still do other activities. Now, for somebody who's bringing in Shabbos early, okay, on next Friday, whatever time your shul and your community and you bring Shabbos in is when you'll bring it in and you'll have your Suda at that time. You do not need to postpone your Suda till later. So you can have your meat and your wine as long as it is already Shabbos for you, okay? At third meal for Shalosh Seudos, you can also have your meat and wine, but for Havdalah in times when it is not Motzei Yom Tov, then we will actually not do this, okay? The minhag is not to eat chicken as well. We don't eat chicken. And eating meat, if a person requires meat because of weakness or health, it is definitely permissible. So anybody, even who needs the strength of eating protein of meat, they can have that for any illness, including a woman who is after birth. If she needs to have chicken and meat, she is allowed to have that. Okay, when okay, we've already said that about making a siyum. When may one eat? Okay, one may eat neokefs. Okay, who can participate in the siyum? I didn't do that one. So a person, okay, the person completely properly. Not only may the person who's making the siyum, but his family and those who will help with the meal are all allowed to participate in eating the meat at that siyum, which they are helping with. Okay, this year for Ashkenazim, okay, our week will be commencing from Rosh Chodesh, and the halachas will apply until Tisha B'Av. And because Tisha B'Av is on Sunday, which we are davening and hoping that we're going to be cooking the best curry that you've ever had for the Suda, okay, and we're going to have the best. It's just going to be amazing. And I have to put the caveat to say, don't be disappointed if it's not this year. It's coming. Mashiach is mamash at our door, okay? Mashiach is waiting. And if you can imagine the stage, and he's waiting in the wings, but he's waiting for his part, okay? We have to try and help him bring that part to the time of that play, which we're playing out. This world, which is not the real world, okay? There's never been so much sheker, okay? There's never been so much falsehood. And if we look at people and we look at behavior and we see what's going on in the world, and nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to listen. And Isaiah told us, we know, we go back and we look at our prophets were screaming and crying, open your ears are deafened. Open your eyes to what you see is going on in the negativity. Can you not see this? And what do? That really is where we are today. That really is where we are today. Okay. Okay. The challenge of, and I'm going to put this in and say, yes, it is a challenge. And yes, your washing baskets will be overflowing. So let's go. Cleaning and changing clothes. One of the things that we do is we actually wear clothes that are not perfectly laundered and cleaned. Okay. So one of the things we can do is just, there are different things that one should wear all their clean clothes and just wear them for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then put them back into your cupboard and you've got something to wear. You can change your underclothes. For Shabbos, you can wear clean new clothing. So that will be for the week after, because we've got a whole week in between. So just be prepared, okay? And if you don't want to change them, put them on the floor, walk on them with relatively clean shoes, okay? Don't put on muddy shoes to make them dirty like that, but just put it on, just that it's not freshly laundered. You know that feeling of putting on nice, clean, freshly laundered, I'm just like, you know, and whatever it is that makes us feel that way, okay, is what we want to diminish, okay? Even giving garments during the 9 days to somebody who's not Jewish and to do laundry is prohibited, okay? It is permissible to give a garment to a non-Jewish cleaner or laundry before Rosh Chodesh, even if you're going to get it back and it's going to be clean during the 9 days, okay? When the 9th of Av falls on a Sunday or Shabbos and is postponed until Sunday, people hold that this week is really not called the week in which Tisha B'Av falls, Okay, so there are a lot more leniencies, and we will go over all of that. Okay, bed linen changed before. Okay, but there are things that we do that we wash for mitzvahs, and I'm going to send you out a little thing which will be not as good as our thing that I'm going to send out for Sfaradim from Samantha, but we will do the best that we can. Okay, if somebody had prepared clothes for the 9 days and later become stained or dirty, the wearing them would cause anguish and possibly financial loss. We ask, okay, don't just do things without checking and asking and saying, oh my gosh, this is like ridiculous. Just always check and ask. Okay. Sewing a new garment or making shoes for somebody, okay, with the exception of one who's forced to become for his livelihood, is not, we shouldn't, again, accustom. And weaving, knitting, and needlework, a woman who should try not to do this. And repairing garments, the halachas for making a new garment, repairing torn garments and shoes is permissible, especially if we need them, but not in the week of Tisha B'Av. Okay, bathing for pleasure. We do not have a long, chilled, lovely bath. We wash in order to get clean. Okay, that means in Israel it's wonderful because you have a cold shower, get clean and get out. Okay, we can bath for Shabbos. You can have a slightly longer wash and shower for Shabbos, but again, it is swimming. Even if people swim during the 3 weeks, it is preferable for a person not to swim during the 9 days. And for anybody that needs mikveh preparation, for a woman, she can have normal, 100% normal, normal bath and everything she needs to do in preparation for mikveh. Okay, so this is where we are. We are looking for light in the darkness. We are creating light in the darkness in everything that we do. And today is also our grandson Yaakov Birnbaum's birthday. So we know that we have the energy and the power to make all good things happen in Tammuz as well. And I'm going to just share this idea from Rabbi Twersky with us. And let's see. So he says, today, he brings down a beautiful idea from Growing Each Day that says, they shall make for me a sanctuary and I shall dwell among them. Yasuli mikdash v'shechanti b'soicham. And the Midrash tells us that Hashem did not say, I shall dwell within it, but I should dwell among them. Who's them? The Israelites, us. The divine presence will be with every single person. That means in you, in me, in every single one of us. That is what the Shekhinah, the divine presence, is. And how do we get it? By bringing it in, by doing, by reminding us who's boss, by reminding us who's in charge, by saying, thank you, Hashem. Wow, what a gift, right? Just when you thought that whatever it is that we thought, and we thought, Hashem, you didn't really want to do that to me, right? And he says, actually, I didn't want to, but it's what's good for you. And it's very hard. And right now, Klal Yisrael are getting another, that's where we are. We haven't been given the Beis HaMikdash yet. How is it possible that we have not learned the lessons of 2,000 years? How is it possible that we haven't managed with all the internet and with all the things to get more people keeping Torah and mitzvahs? And I don't mean just more percentage-wise, I mean millions more. You know, I asked, we have a big day, seed staff today, so I am going to, then I started late, I'm going to finish on time. We have a big day in the office, we've got a full day's strategy, and they're giving us lunch, which is really, really nice. And it's going to be the first time I've been there in person with more than my bat mitzvah program. But I want to tell you, and I just got a beautiful picture of my Tehela having brunch with my mother and stepfather in Yerushalayim. Isn't that just the best? Ah, the best. Carly. And I'm jealous. Okay, so I want to tell you something that it was staggering even for me. Okay, even for me, I'm looking at these numbers and I'm thinking to myself, on a Thursday night, okay, between March 20th and July 21, we have had over 5,600 people. I'm going to put it up already up to at least 6,000, because in a lot of places there's more than one person watching. So imagine that, 6,000, that's 6,000 hours of Torah learning, plus the people who watch the recordings after. Okay, so we can put it to 7,000 people that have learned. Okay, then on our Tuesdays, besides recordings that we watch, we've had nearly 1,000 hours of learning, just like this. That is incredible. Incredible. Okay, and all the different programming and the learning, and that's without chalamakes, and that's without school programs, and that's what you're talking about, like 15, 16, 17,000 hours of learning Torah, of connecting to Judaism, of connecting each person to Hashem. Katie, I don't know if I said good morning to you, I'm so sorry. Okay, that's the things that we've got to understand, that we're doing this, but we could be doing so much more. And Hashem saying, when people see it, they look, but they close their eyes and they walk past. So Rabbi Twersky says like this, there are two types of possible relationships. A person can relate to an object which is a one-way relationship. Since the object cannot reciprocate, or a person may react to Hashem and to a people, okay, which should be a two-way relationship. Okay, another difference between relating to objects and to beings is that things should be used, whereas Hashem and people should be loved. Okay, not used, we should be loved. Unfortunately, the reverse can also occur. People can fall in love with things that they use. Okay, people can fall in love with things, but they use Hashem and people. You got it? They can fall in love with the things, a nice diamond ring, but they're using a person to get there, and they use God as well. People who behave this way perceive Hashem and people as if they were objects. Inasmuch as the love of oneself is an inevitable fact, the love of Hashem and the love of people can only occur when they are permitted to become part of oneself. Because then one loves them as one's own eyes and one's own ears. Okay? It's very hard space. Very hard space. And we have to say to ourselves, if my relationship to Hashem is limited to going to the Beis HaMikdash and praying for my needs, then I am merely using Hashem. And Hashem becomes an external object. But when I make His will mine, then His will is within me. And He becomes part of me. And this is undoubtedly what the Zohar is telling us. That Israel, okay, that Israel, the Torah, Israel, the Torah and Hashem are all one. Klal Yisrael, the Torah and Hashem are one. There's no difference, because the Torah which is Hashem's will, is inseparable from Hashem. They are the same thing. And when one incorporates the Torah within one's own code of conduct and values and unites with Hashem, what am I doing? Do I want to do this? No. Do I want to be like that? No. But this is what Hashem wants me to do. He wants me to think and speak and do in a way that the Torah wants from us. And sometimes that is very, very, very hard. But we're not going to worry about the challenge and the difficulty of it. We're going to make sure that we recognize the beauty of it. And we say, Hashem, I want to go out and look beautiful because I want to be a Kiddush Hashem for the world and say, I'm one of your Jewish daughters and I look stunning. So, right? I want to look attractive. I don't want to look attracting. I want to walk and I want to say, I'm a Bas Melech. I'm one of your children, Hashem. I want to talk and say words that reveal that when I think and when I speak, I don't just say the words that I want to say. I think about what I'm saying because that's what Hashem demands of me. When I want to say something with Lashon Hara in, and it might be a person's name, I stop the person's name and I can still tell the story as long as it's not recognizable. We have to understand those things because Hashem lives in us and he's inside of us. So when he's within you, then your thought and the things we say and the things we do become godly because we want Hashem to be there with us all the time. I want to make my relationship with Hashem more than an object relationship. I want to bring Torah into
no sound.
You've gone mute, Joanne.
How is it that when you want to mute, you can't and it's difficult? And then you just take your book, move it to the side and close it and it mutes. Thank you. Okay. So what I want to be, I want to make sure that the things that I say, the things that I do, the things that I am, are doing each time I can connect it. You know what, Hashem? I know these 12-year-old girls are struggling. Okay, so I'll quickly rush. I'll get there. I'll give them a little bit of inspiration for 10, 15 minutes. And I'll say, it's up to you. And I throw in at the end, if you're challenging and you have any questions, ask the right people. Ask the right people. I just say it. Let them hear it, whether it slips in and goes, because they've got to know that, because we all struggle. We all see the world around us. And all we want to be able to do is say, I'm doing this, Hashem, because of you, because you want me to do this.
I love Laura's making herself beautiful.
That's what I was talking about before, Sharon. I was saying I'm looking at our beautiful Bas Melech and making ourselves look beautiful to walk out in the world and say, that is a beautiful Jewish
I'm not.
man.
Thank you, though. That's very sweet.
I must tell you,
It is.
I must tell you, Joanne, there's a lot of very ugly people out there in the Broadwalk today. Ugly people.
Did you go and offer them a bit of a makeover, Sharon?
No, they
But I
don't
want to
speak
tell you
English.
one thing that you end on, okay? You can have the most stunning, beautiful, gorgeous person, and that person isn't nice or kind, and they're no longer beautiful. And we can have sometimes what we look at, you know, as not being, but when you get to know the person, there's so much beauty that you only see them as beautiful. And that's what I always used to say, you know, the people that should be on the role models of, you look at rebbetzen Al-Tusky, she's the most beautiful person in the whole world. Beautiful. Okay. But we see what we do and how we do it. And beauty is from within because that's Torah. Okay. And you've got to have the external because all of our foremothers and Esther and all these people are spoken about as being so beautiful. Beautiful. Right? Because the inside shines out. And that's what we do when we live with Hashem in us, then the inside shines out. So we live with Hashem in us. And may we all merit to be able to create that relationship, to make that relationship happen, to develop the relationship, to just focus on something and say, that's from Hashem. That's from Hashem. That's from Hashem. I want it in me. I want to feel the positivity. I want to feel the energy. I want to feel the connection. I want to feel connected, and the way we do it is through doing the actions that we need to, and that we do together with all of our beautiful Israelites, the Jewish people, and beyond, because when we go beyond, and we know that we've got the world of Tikkun Atzmi, and Tikkun Klal Yisrael, and then Tikkun Olam, we know that we've got a job in this world for ourselves to become the best, to make our community the best, and to help the rest of the world. And that's ultimately what we're all able to do. Okay, and I'll say, make a great day. In Mirza Hashem, we should have refuahs and yeshuas for all of Klal Yisrael, that all the surgeries should be they should merit to have shlichim, that the surgeons should be the shlichim of Hashem, should be the ones that are the messengers of Hashem, that should do beautiful jobs and help all of Klal Yisrael.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Okay.
Joanne,